Here's your integrated 3. It's 11.1.2 lecture. And in the very first problem, they ask you to go back and revisit 11-8. And 11-8 wants you to just remember how fractions work. So some people think it's easier to go 2 times 9 is 18. And 3 times 14, oh no, I don't know what 3 times 14 is. 42. They think it's easier to do this and then reduce it. Like I can reduce it by 7, 2. I don't know. I can reduce it by 2s for sure. So this would be half of 18 is 9, half of 14. 42 is 21. And then I can reduce it by 3s. 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 7. So I can do that. And so that's okay. That's like what a beginner would do. But I hope that you guys all can remember that you're allowed to reduce it this way. You can, how can I explain this? This 9 is like 3 times 3, right? And this 14 is like 2 times 7. And see, like I can cancel out a 3 here because 3 over 3 is 1. It's like a giant 1. And here I can cancel out a 2. So, I mean, I don't write it all out like that. I usually just say, in my mind, I'm going like this. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3, and I'll make a big old 3 right here. Okay, and then 2 divided by 2 is 1. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and I get 3 sevens. So that is the way we want you to be able to think about some of this fraction math. And when you have division, I don't know if you remember this, but you flip the second fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal of it. Because that's what dividing is, it's multiplying by the reciprocal. So if this says 3/5 divided by 12 over 25, we can write it as 3/5 times the reciprocal of 12 over 25, which is 25 over 12. So they say, why ask why, flip and multiply? If that works for you, you can do it that way. And here, I don't want to go 3 times 25 is 75, and 5 times 12 is 60, and then go through that long process of reducing. What I'm going to do is look for giant ones. I know that 5, like this could be written as 5 times 5. And so then I'd have a giant 1. So I can, or in other words, I can divide both of these by 5. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 3 goes into itself once. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And then I can just get 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 4 is 4. So I hope that you are already comfortable with that. If not, I hope some of this made sense. So now we're ready to actually do 11/16. And it just gives you all these different problems to do. I'm not going to do all of them. Like I want to show you some of them now. Like on letter A, here, let me push autofocus. On letter A, I would just cancel out the 2 x minus 5s, and then you just end up with 4x plus 3 over 3. On letter B, I actually wrote that one out for you. I cancel out the 9x. Oh, letter B was a division problem. So when I write down if it's a division problem and I'm going to write it on my paper, I always write it as the reciprocal. So, like, I don't want to write this down and then rewrite it again with the second fraction turned upside down. So I just wrote it as this. And then I just canceled these out, and I ended up with this. Oh, and I was supposed to, I think it did ask us to say what are what values of x are restricted. So here, if I plugged a 1/9 in there, that would give me a 0 denominator. And then here, if I plugged in a -1/2, that would give me a 0 denominator. And if you don't know how to tell what would give you a 0 denominator, you can go like this. You can go 2x plus 1 equals 0. Because maybe it's not obvious to you by looking at it what number would make a 0 here. So you can set it equal to 0 and do algebra. Okay, that is the number that makes this equal to 0. Okay, so that's how I'm getting those. Most of them I can do in my head because I think of like the one goes to the other side and then I divide by 9. Like I don't know if you can do those in your head or not. So then letter D was a multiplication problem. And I wrote that down because I thought it was interesting because this is y minus 2 to the third. So that means it's y minus 2 times y minus 2 times, y minus 2. Okay, and so that tells me that I can cancel out one of the factors of y minus 2. I wrote in my space. And that gives me y minus 2. See how there's two factors of it left on the top? And then I've got a y plus 5 from here. And then down here, I've got a 3y times y plus 2. Okay, and then there's some values that are restricted, and that would be y cannot equal 0, y cannot equal -2, and y cannot equal +2. So that was letter D. Okay, and then I wanted to do letter E. So letter E started out as a division problem, but then when I flipped it and I multiplied. So I flipped the second part and multiplied. Now I'm just going to show you a little more quickly how to cancel these out. I just look, any numerator and any denominator can cancel with each other. Like I could choose to cancel my 15 and my 10 by 5s, or I can do my 15 and my 3 by 3s. I'll just do it this way. You can do it crossway. It doesn't, I mean, you can do it however you want as long as it's whatever you do is true. So if I divide this one and this one by 3, 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 15 5 times. I'm going to divide these both by 2. 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 goes into 10 5 times. Now, I see that there's a y here and 2 y's up here. So I'm going to cancel this y out, and this is y times y, so there's going to be 1 y left. I see that there's, now this y and this y can cancel out. I see there's 2 x's here because this is x times x, and there's 3 of them here. So I'm going to cancel 2 of these ones out, and better write this down quick. This will be 10, 5 times 2 is 10 times x, because everything else canceled out. And then this is 1 times 5, and everything else canceled. Oh, I forgot, I should have canceled. Look, I could have canceled those 5's out. And then I would have just had 2 times x. But I didn't notice it before, so it's not too late. I can do it now. 5 goes into itself once, and 5 goes into 10 twice, and I get 2x. And what are my restricted values? Y cannot equal 0. And, well, I think y can just not equal 0 on letter E. Oh, and x cannot equal 0, right? Because there's an x there, too. X cannot equal 0. Okay, here's letter F. Letter F, it starts out as a division problem, but when I wrote it down, I wrote the second fraction with the x minus 4, 2x minus 3 on top. I flipped it upside down. I wrote the reciprocal. Okay, so that's letter F. So I want to go ahead and work this one out all the way. So it looks like everything is being multiplied. Everything is a factor, so I can just cancel stuff out. Like 5x minus 2 over 5x minus 2 is a giant 1. X minus 4 over x minus 4, those are giant 1s. This 2x minus 3, this is like there's two of them. This is 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 3. It's like that. So I can get rid of this. And then I'm just left with this and this. So okay, and that is I have to look at the restricted values. So this one would be, I think, 3/2 and 2/5 and 4 would be some restricted values that would make some zeros in the denominators. Okay, and then I think I'm going to just try to keep this all one long video. So this is, wait, no I'm not. I'm going to make part 2 because we want to talk about some factoring in the next video.